Alright guys, Jameson and Alex here. Today we are talking about the Mind Reaper Ranger. This one is from KibblesTasty's first book, so make sure you check that out. If you're new to the channel or the series, what we're going to do is rate the roleplay, combat, and synergy based in the subclass and how it improves on the base class abilities.
That's right.
Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to be entered in our D&D Beyond Sourcebook Bundle giveaway.
Or other giveaway of choice, potentially.
That being said, let's get right to it.
Okay, we're going to get some special little spells for our ranger. Our half-caster, we're going to get Frighten, which is a Kibbles spell. Detect Thoughts, Fear, Confusion, and Dominate Person. Because
why not?
Why not?
Take it.
Also at level 3, we're going to have Psychic Reaper. When you attack a creature that is frightened, you gain advantage on the attack roll. Additionally, you learn to imbue your attacks with lingering psionic energy. Make an attack as part of the attack action. Your attacks deal an additional 1d4 psychic damage. Nice damage type.
Yeah, and, you know, why not? Just free extra D4.
Free damage.
Also at level 3.
Because why not?
Telepathic communication. You can communicate telepathically with any creature you can see within 30 feet of you. You don't need to share a language with the creature for it to understand telepathic utterances, but the creature must be able to understand at least one language. So, no speaking with animals.
No.
I mean, I guess there's a gray area with that, because it's like, what about pets that have been trained for commands? Can they understand language? They can.
I don't know.
Let us know in the comments.
For sure. Level 7, we get Reaper's Intrusion. You gain the Telepathic Intrusion Psionic Power. We'll get to that in a second. You gain a number of psi points equal to your proficiency bonus. Regain them on a short or long rest. You can use these points to empower your telepathic intrusion or cast spells granted by the subclass, spending 1 psi point per level of the spell in place of a spell slot. When you spend 1 or more psi points to empower it, you can use the telepathic intrusion as a bonus action.
For the actual psionic power, again, too, this is from the Scion class that KibblesTasty has in this book. So this is just one extra feature that you can borrow from that class if you want to learn more about that. So, telepathic intrusion. Casting time 1 action, range 60 feet, component, somatic. Duration, instantaneous. You assault the mind of a creature you can see directly. The target must succeed a wisdom save against your spell save DC or take 1d8 psychic damage. If the target fails to save, it has disadvantage on attacks made against you until the start of your next turn. You can choose to deal no damage to the creature when it fails its saving throw. Why you would choose to do that would be very circumstantial, but you have the option to do so. And if you decide to expend some points to use the ability, you can get different effects. There are 4 different effects. The first one is Rending for 1 plus psi points. Target takes 1d8 psychic damage for each additional point spent on a failed save. Second is Terrifying for 1 psi point. Target is frightened of you until the end of your next turn if it fails its saving throw. Again, working with the frightened condition. Third option is Meddling for 2 psi points. You make one creature invisible to the target creature or cause the creature to see something that is not there with the effect of minor illusion until the start of your next turn if it fails its saving throw. And lastly, we have Overwhelming for 3 psi points. Target is stunned until the end of its next turn if it fails its saving throw. Don't get too excited because you are a half-caster. Wisdom, what's it going to be?
I mean,
this is the question.
This is true. But if you knew you're fighting a big doofus thing that may not be very smart, something like that, maybe you can go through there. Starting at level 11, we do get Amplified Anguish. Whenever you deal psychic damage to a creature that is frightened of you, you deal an extra 1d8 psychic damage. So you get the d4 base. If it's frightened, an extra d8. You start doing all that psychic damage. Also at level 11, we have Mind Hunter. When you've dealt psychic damage to a creature, you gain the ability to see that target as if by blind sight, as long as it's within 120 feet of you until the end of your next turn. That might be my favorite thing.
It's cool.
Like flavor-wise, interesting, and also for, you know, there could be times that comes up. Someone tries to go invisible, try to start fleeing from you, you know? I really like that.
It's a very cool concept, if anything. Level 15, we have Taste of Fear. When you deal psychic damage to a frightened creature, you gain temp HP equal to your wisdom modifier plus your proficiency bonus. If a creature dies while frightened of you, you regain 1 expended psi point. So, again, dealing with the fear stuff, frightened stuff, good and bad. We'll get to that. Lastly, we have Psionic Adaptation at 15th level. You can expend your spell slots in place of psi points when using a psionic power, with a spell slot counting as an equal number of psi points. So you could cast spell psi points, now you can cast psi points with
Is this
spells.
a sorcerer? We meta magic this thing up in here?
Something. A half quarter sorcerer. I don't know. Quarter meta. Whoa. Getting really weird here.
Careful.
Those are all the abilities gained in the subclass.
That's right.
So we'll just move right on into the rating portion of the video. First up is the roleplay asterisk, as always. Talking about roleplay, we're talking about interacting with the world around you, interacting with NPCs, non-combat scenarios, avoiding combat, basically things outside of the initiative order. Not talking about your class fantasy, history, lore, background, that's on you as a player. We can't rate you, but we can rate the abilities gained in the subclass and how they might improve your potential in those roleplay scenarios. Whew. So, roleplay.
Roleplay.
Telepathy is nice.
It is.
You're never going to be upset about having that.
Nope.
You can communicate with people you normally wouldn't be able to.
Yep. Even if you don't share a language. As long as they can speak a language.
Exactly. So you don't have to waste spell slots for that kind of stuff.
Nope.
It's just, you have it. And you get it really early, which is nice as well. You do have an interesting spell list. You know, detect thoughts, fear, confusion, dominate, frighten.
Almost all of those have some RP use.
Yeah, so solid, but again, half caster. You don't have as many spell slots. But you can use psi points for these spells. Yeah. So you get a little bit more than you normally do. Yeah. So it's not, you get some stuff there.
You're a half caster, but you've got some extra.
You got some meta magic sorcery points, almost.
Yep.
Not quite.
Kind of. Not quite as good as that.
That being said on here, there's not really a whole lot else going on. I mean, the rest of it's really just combat. No. You know, you're dealing extra damage.
RP spells and some.
You're seeing stuff after you hurt them. You're hurting them more. I mean, maybe an argument for the.
Well, the only thing, the psionic power, the fact that it does specify that you can choose not to damage somebody and you can choose to frighten them instead, that does make it usable in RP. Just give them a scare.
So, that being said, we went with a 2.5 out of 5. There is some solid options, but the options that you have available to you are limited and somewhat niche.
Yeah.
I say limited because they're going to use spell slots or psi points, and niche because they're pretty much just social.
Yeah, pretty much. On the combat side of things, we get more interesting, in my opinion. It leans harder into what the Ranger is good at in combat, which is very high floor damage. With Hunter's Mark and just archery, the fighting style. As a general rule, of course, you can play melee Ranger. I know that. General, most commonly played Ranger is Ranger. Ranger. So you get extra psychic damage, which is one of the 2 best damage types in the game. That and Force, obviously, because it's least commonly resisted. We know these things. Most of us do. If you don't, psychic, force damage, 2 best damage types in the game. Good. Because not only you get the base D4 early at level 3, which is great. Eventually, if you are able to frighten stuff, which you do have multiple ways to do so.
You do.
And I do like that it does not specify frightened of you or by you.
Right.
So if you have
be frightened.
A barbarian or someone else that
you get some class synergy,
you've got some fear there, maybe you got some nice group comments like we go scare everything. That's gonna be great. You get some extra psychic damage on top of that. The part I talked about where it's interesting is I love the flavor of it, and it's niche on how useful it's going to be reliably, but there will be times it comes up because it's if you've done psychic damage to someone, so basically if you've hit them with a weapon attack, you will know where they were, even with by blind sight type of effects. So you know exactly where they are, even if you've been blinded, you can't see them, you know where they are because you've damaged their mind with the psychic damage. You know where they're at. That's really cool. If they start to flee from you, they try to go invisible, whatever else that matter, you still know where they are. And that may not come up all the time,
No, but when it does, you're gonna be really glad.
When it knows, it's like, hey, that wizard's like greater invisibility. He's like, I still see you, you idiot. The Reaper's Intrusion, like I said, I like the fact you've got a psionic power that has different effects. It's more psychic damage that you can do, which is great. But also you can spend some extra points that you have to change how it may affect them, either doing more damage, frightening them, because, look at that, or potentially stunning them, which is wonderful. Yeah. Granted, like Jameson said, you are a half-caster, so choose wisely if you're going to try to go for the big swing there on the stun, because it may not work for you, but worth a shot if you think you can get the thing to hit. And then finally getting you some temp HP, and then finally the choice at your capstone at 15, so you're getting 2 abilities at 15. letting you either kind of go sorcerer points there with using either your side points or spell slots to cast the spells from this list or use the points, side power, all that kind of jazz. You get this nice little, like, use what you need, what you want to use. If you've cast some other spells for, like, some AoE damage, or if you needed to heal or whatever else, you can use your side points to do your other spells and things. So that's all cool. The challenge is going to be how reliably can you get your Frighten to trigger some of your extra effects, because you are a half caster. How much of your wisdom to help your DC are you going to have? So there's going to be some give and take there, a little bit of a
One, they have to
thing.
fail to save to be frightened.
Correct.
And 2, you have to have slots or points available to try to frighten them.
Correct. So there's going to be some limitations to being able to maximize your abilities, but that's common with a lot of subclasses. So it was a 3.5 out of a possible 5 on the combat. There's some interesting, good damage options, but how reliable are you with the Frighten?
Yeah, I think if you can, like we kind of mentioned in passing, is if you have a good party composition where you have multiple party members who have easy ways to try to frighten something, then this is going to be way more consistent, and it could be definitely a much higher score if you have a whole party that's built around that frighten concept. So that could be potentially
everybody's just playing like monstery races. Over here you got a bugbear, you got some undead
hag,
you got a hag,
not hag patron, hag lineage, or
yes.
All these weird things.
The Dampier vampire thing. You're all playing like horror monster races.
Yes.
And you're trying to kill people. Scary, right?
It's a horror campaign, but like you're the scary thing. Everyone else is normal.
You are the danger.
You're the thing everyone's... Anyways, tangents. We go on them. So
we're good at them.
With the synergy, though, there is really great internal synergy with the way these abilities work together, the way you can work with your spell slots or the side points, and then you can use those back and forth. Yes. To an extent, it is limited because you can only use them with the spells that are granted from the subclass, or the psionic power at the capstone kind of thing. But it still gives you more options than you would have otherwise. And I'm going to be brutally honest here. The Ranger spell list is the worst spell list of any of the classes.
What are you talking about?
It's so awfully bad. The only thing good about it is Hunter's Mark. Everything else is bad.
I wouldn't know like the only thing good about it. It's by far the best thing about it.
Not even close. Yes. If you could just use all your spell slots for Hunter's Mark, and you wouldn't even feel that bad about it.
And I mean, it wouldn't be a bad choice. Like, you do have access to Cure Wounds on there, so you can heal in a pinch. So that's not a bad thing.
There's couple. There's like 3 spells you can use and
there's some other buff things on there that are good that like Paladins have access to give your more floor damage. But again, there's a whole lot of you're not taking this.
You're getting like most of the worst spells from the Druid list.
Yep.
And
none of the really good
like
ones.
all the spells that the Druid would never take on their they would never prepare. So
that's something that
I
the
exaggerate
whole 1D&D
a little bit,
thing
but not
may help fix some of that.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see.
So
it is what it is on there, but extra spells with the side points, and the spells that you gain are
pretty solid,
and they synergize really well with your abilities.
Mm-hmm.
Extra psychic damage is going to give you.
Speaking of like more ways to fear, you got fear and frighten in there. There's just...
Yes. So interesting. You get some extra defense with the temporary hit point stuff, but I mean, it really comes down to how well the internal synergy works. We went with a 4 out of 5 just because it has a lot of really good interworking parts.
Yep.
But again, too, if you really wanted to go like full wisdom decks and just play ranged, ranged, you could probably be fine, and you're going to be able to hit like that stun when you really need that stun because your save will be way better.
Yep.
Because that's the other thing too is if you're using these spells, your saves are not going to be super high if your wisdom is your 3rd or 4th stat.
Yeah.
So if you're going like
you can't put it below your 3rd stat. It has to be at least your 3rd stat.
Right. Like Dex, Con, Wisdom.
Yeah. Maybe it's Dex, and like your Con, Wisdom, or even you get like +3 in both. Maybe we'll see. But there are choices.
But so there is a lot of dependence on that. But it is a really cool concept, and the way that a lot of the abilities tie together, it doesn't feel like too intrusive or like too much on one thing because it gives you options with how you use them as well. It's not just like you can do this one thing so many times. It's like you can do this one thing and modify it different ways, or you can do these other spells with these other options besides spell slots. So it gives you some extra stuff on there that is nice. But that's going to be it for today, guys. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to like, subscribe, hit the bell notifications so you know when all of our new videos are coming out. And as always, thanks for watching.